What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming. I was going to make this video last night when it actually happened, but I was in a live stream of Review Tech USA's and that kind of took precedence, so I just went with that and I said I'd make this today. So, what actually happened anyway? What's the deal? So, Mike Ybarra, the corporate vice president of Xbox and Microsoft, he made two tweets last night that were pretty interesting, especially regarding the upcoming Project Scorpio and using it in comparison to what we already have and know about the PS4 Pro. So, first off, what did he tweet out anyway? Well, his first tweet says, "Developers are free to choose how to use the power of Project Scorpio for games. We have no requirements limiting frame rate or fidelity." So first off, I think this is in response to a big thing that's going around at the moment in relation to Destiny 2. Now, I know I said I wasn't really going to be talking about Destiny too much, but this is more so a knock-on effect. So when Destiny 2 was shown off, they showed it off on PlayStation 4 Pros as well as PCs, but they showed it on PS4 Pros, and they mentioned that there's going to be 4K 30 FPS on the PS4 Pro. Now, it seems it's questionable if it's going to come out as native 4K 30 FPS or if it's going to be checkerboard upscaling 4K 30 FPS, because there's reports of both at the moment and there's no official announcement, so it's kind of hard to say, and there's no analysis just yet, so we don't fully know. But naturally, because the Xbox Project Scorpio is going to be considerably more powerful than the PS4 Pro, that begs the question if the PS4 Pro is native 4K 30 FPS on Destiny 2, not Project Scorpio, on Destiny 2, that will Project Scorpio be powerful enough to uncap the frame rate and put it at 4K 60 FPS, or if the PS4 Pro version is checkerboard upscaling 30 FPS, will the Scorpio be native 4K 30 FPS? There's a lot of questions out there at the moment because, one, we don't fully know all about Project Scorpio. Its proper reveal hasn't happened yet. It'll probably happen in a few weeks at E3, but in comparison to stuff we do know and stuff we don't know put together, it's a bit of a wild ride. So that was something that came out, and that's kind of an important question at the same time. But here's another tweet that was pretty interesting. This one was shortly after, in response to someone who basically said something to him. So Chris the Gamer, or Chris the One Gamer, whatever way he wants to be called, he says, "But there is an FPS parity between Xbox One and Scorpio in multiplayer, which means a 2013 console is holding a 2017 console back." Now, he's referencing something that's on the PS4 Pro. Sony have mandated something on the PS4 Pro. So essentially, because of the extra power in the PS4 Pro, it cannot be used to give a better frame rate if you're playing in an online game that PS4 users have access to. For example, what can we use as an example? What's a big online PS4 game? Let's say Battlefield 1, okay? So on Battlefield 1 on the PS4, standard PS4, your frame rate is not going to be locked at 60. It's going to be varying, it's going to be kind of wild, so, depending on what's happening, you might drop down to the 50s or the 40s. It's not going to be a locked 60 FPS. So, because of this parity clause that Sony have in place, a PS4 Pro user will also have the same frame rate, and the PS4 Pro cannot increase the frame rate to give that player an advantage, because let's face it, if you're playing a game online and someone has double the frame rate or a higher frame rate than you have, they're going to have the advantage, for the simple reason is everything they see and do is more responsive. So in response to this tweet, Mike tweeted back about the parity clause, at least. He says, "No, there isn't. This is up to the developer to choose for their games what they want to do." So he's basically, seems like he's saying that there is no online FPS parity clause with the base Xbox One and the Project Scorpio. So what that potentially means is that, again, I'm going to go back and use Destiny 2 as an example. Because Destiny 2 is an always online shared multiplayer shooter, it would have an effect on the frame rate, because the frame rate difference, if it was 30 or 60, could be an issue, especially if you're playing PvP modes. So again, we can use Battlefield as an example too. So let's say you're playing Battlefield 1 on the original Xbox One. you know, your frame rate might dip down to the 40s or something during big action, whereas on a Project Scorpio it might possibly stay at a locked 60, giving that player the advantage. So this could be a big deal. So especially with, in two aspects. One, you're going to get better, well, if all this is true, you're going to get better performance and better, smoother experience out of your Project Scorpio games, even online or even single player. As well as from now on, if this all stays true with upcoming games and future games, this could mean that your experience will always be better. Your online multiplayer experience, your smoothness of gameplay, your frame rate, it's all going to be better if all this stays true and it's all done correctly. So it's a bit of a weird thing when you think about it, because of the, what's the best way to, because of the technically advantage you could have over other people, but also because you know that you're getting better frame rates and you're getting an overall better experience, or so you should be, on the Project Scorpio. So it's curious to see how this is going to play out, because usually the big deal with consoles is that everyone is on the same playing field, and now we have the whole PS4 Pro and Project Scorpio kind of half mess going on. And Sony have the parity clause in there to prevent the frame rate issue, to keep people on the same playing field, basically. Keep them on the same level playing field. It seems that Microsoft could be doing away with that. And, I mean, we all know Microsoft have kind of been pushing into the whole realm of PC gaming, both in actual, well, gaming and kind of hardware style now as well, with the fact that you're essentially putting a lower end PC versus a bit of a higher end PC, despite them both being consoles. And one player will have a probably distinct advantage frame rate wise over the other player. So that's kind of curious, because that's something you do see on consoles. Obviously everyone doesn't have a super beast high end rig like I do. So my point is, when I'm playing online, when I'm playing a game online, everyone I play with is not going to have the same computer as me. Some of them will be playing at a lower frame rate, some of them will be playing at lower quality settings or lower resolution. So you could argue I have an advantage, a technical advantage. Skill aside, I have advantages, you could argue. So it's curious to see how that will play out, if there'll be any more information on this in the upcoming weeks or the upcoming months between now and Project Scorpio's release at the end of this year, or what we'll find out at E3, because it's going to be, hopefully it's going to be good at least anyway, and we get some good solid information on the Project Scorpio. So what's the deal for frame rates and Project Scorpio for you? Do you think Microsoft will leave it that there's going to be a frame rate difference allowed in online multiplayer games based on the power of the Project Scorpio? Do you think it's going to be good, or just for the sake of it, let's throw in Destiny 2 that we already talked about? Would a 4K native console Scorpio version of Destiny 2 be a system seller for you, or would it be enough for you to change the platform you buy it on? Or would a 60 FPS version, if that was the difference, if they were both 4K but the Scorpio was 60 FPS, would that be enough of a difference for you? Let me know all of that in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.